Welcome to Decide to Move podcast, where top experts share tips and strategies to grow you from where you currently are to where you are destined to be personally and professionally. Now, here's your host, author, speaker, business strategist, CEO, and founder of Decide to Move, Monica M. Bijou.
Exception. I have an amazing speaker with me who's an international speaker, and she has over 15 years in pharmaceutical and chemical sales, which has yielded her the ability to coach hundreds of women shed over 500 pounds of emotional and physical weight, help increase their confidence, and help them get satisfaction in their business. She's also known as a breakthrough bullshit coach because of the fact that she helps dreamers, visionaries, healers, light workers, and professional high-achieving women working a 9-to-5, stretch into their own leadership and birth their business. I am super excited to have with me Brittany Parsons. Hi, Brittany. Thank you for being with us today.
Hi, Monica. Thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Most definitely. I'm excited to hear about your topic about luminous expansion.
Most people are really excited when they come across the title. So a little background on the title itself. My husband was actually the one that came up with it. And he's always talking about me being this light in the world and how I need to shine. And so he said, you illuminate when you come into a room. And I really want you to expand your light even further. So he said, oh my gosh, luminous expansion. And I just kind of ran with it. So it means expanding one's own light into the universe.
Oh, that is awesome. Tell your husband, great, right? He's a keeper.
He is.
Yeah, and you're expecting a little one sometime soon too.
Yes, baby Avery, she'll be here in June. Hopefully sooner.
You're like, I'm ready to give birth to this luminous, right, expansion.
I'm so ready. So ready.
So help our listeners as well as those that's going to be viewing us do video. Tell us who you are. Like, how did you get into the entrepreneur world?
Sure. So I've always wanted to be some sort of entrepreneur or writer, possibly a traveling speaker. And I knew I had a voice. I knew I had something to share. But about, what are we looking at? I would say now it's been 16 years. So when I was 17, I got very heavily into drugs and alcohol. And unfortunately, I went through what I call a crisis of meaning, and was sexually assaulted at the age of 17 by a friend who told me not to tell anybody. So I held that very closely to the vest. And unfortunately, I never said anything. So I just decided to bury it with alcohol and drugs. And I spent about 10 years doing that. So from 17 to 27, became a full-blown alcoholic, cut the drugs out, but really focus on the drinking. And while working in the pharmaceutical industry, I was a very high-functioning alcoholic, meaning I was able to go to my 8 to 5, but I was either hungover or would leave work, go to happy hour, and show up to work drunk the next day. And when I was 23, I had a really bad breakup. I stopped drinking for maybe a couple months and thought I could pick back up again. Well, that's just not the case with an alcoholic. It's an allergy of the body and the mind. And I clearly had it. It runs in my family. It's definitely a disease that can be passed down to different generations in the family. And so I, being the one that got it, which it's a blessing and a curse in itself, picked back up and it became worse. So from 23 to 25, I was finding myself in a really bad place. I lost majority, if not all, of my girlfriends. My family couldn't trust me. They were looking at treatment options, calling the church to see if the church would take me in as like a crisis intervention. And by the age of 25, I was fired from the top pharmaceutical company in the world at the time. And I was told I had really poor performance. And I didn't believe it. I thought, oh, this is such crap. Like, you know, blaming the company, blaming my boss, saying that it was her fault, not mine. And so from 25 to 27, the drinking and the alcoholism became so bad that I was, you know, passing out drunk, throwing up blood on very large occasions where I would go out and get sick either that night or the next morning. And then every morning I would wake up shaking, and some mornings would have really bad seizures. And I'm not a diabetic. I don't have seizures at all, but from the alcohol, I was experiencing that. And by the age of 25, you know, I lost this job, and I was looking at my bank account to see if I even had any money. And I blew through $30,000 over the last 2 years at that time from drinking alone. It struck a chord, but not enough to make me stop. And so my rock bottom was really when I was 27 years old. And I went to the bar, and at that point, I had no friends. I had no connections. The only person I could turn to was my father. My father was in, and still is, in recovery for the last 35 years, thankfully. So I called him and I said, I don't know what to do. I need to stop, and this is affecting me to the point where I'm going to die. And prior to that conversation, had gone to the doctor, who told me I had only 40% of my liver left. When you hear that, you would think, okay, it's time to stop from all the things that were already happening, you know, the throwing up and getting sick. But I just kept going. I didn't know how to stop until this conversation. And my father became so enraged, and I'm very thankful that he did. And he said to me, I don't know what to tell you. We've exhausted every option. You just need to put it down. You just need to stop. And he's screaming in the phone, you just need to stop. And he hung up on me. And at that moment, I realized if I don't, something so terrible is going to happen, and a funeral is going to be planned, and I miss out on the rest of my life. So I started doing a lot of research on how to get sober on my own. And I came across this story about a man who performed in the CrossFit Games. And this guy, it's a sad story, but it's a great story at the same time. So he was a heroin addict, and he shot up heroin before the CrossFit Games. And he came in last place, obviously. And then after the games, locked himself in a closet for 3 days to detox with nothing but a water bottle and some bread. And he goes on to share this story about how he actually went into rehab and got clean. Came back to the CrossFit Games the next year and placed, I think, 5th or 4th. And that story sent me to another level. I dropped down to my knees and I asked God, can you send me either somebody that can show me how to do this or point me in the right direction? And as I'm scrolling through, up pops this gym. And at the time I was living up in Pennsylvania. So this gym called CrossFit King of Prussia. And I'm researching it. It's about 15 minutes from where my house was. And I said, you know what? I just got to go. See what it's all about. See if this could be my savior. And I made an appointment. I scheduled, and I got there, and I walked in, and I said, hey, I don't know anybody. I felt like somebody just coming off the street. And I said, my name is Brittany. I'm an alcoholic, and I need help. And everyone, it was as if Moses had stepped in and like parted the sea to this desk. And at the desk sits a man. His name is Tim. And Tim says to me, "Hi, my name is Tim. I've been in recovery for 5 years. How can we help you?" And in that moment, I said to myself, this is it. This is going to be my journey. So I started doing CrossFit, got really heavy into powerlifting, and spent 2.5 years at CrossFit King of Prussia until I moved down here to Austin, Texas.
Nice.
And yeah, and when I got to Austin, I had to find, that camaraderie in the same type of gym, and I did. And here I sit, 6.5 years sober today.
Congratulations, Brittany. That's a beautiful story. And I've seen some of your pictures and I'm like, wow, I need to borrow some of her. I was like, and was it hard? Like when you got pregnant, was it like going from like being CrossFit mom to, or like babe to being a mom, or you're like, I'm going to embrace it? Because I know some people who worked out, which was your savior, right? Working out was your savior. And then becoming pregnant, they're like, oh my gosh, my body's changing, and vice versa. Did you have any of those thoughts?
My body doesn't look the same at all. I have no muscle in my arms, and my abs are gone, and I'm okay with it because the body is so capable of getting back to the way that it was versus where it's at now. And it's really about the energetics around the body. It's not so much the actual physical part of the body. It's what you eat, it's how you nourish. And so, girl, I'll be able to get back to that 6-pack. I'll be fine. I'm not worried about it.
Good. I was going to say that because I mean, you're about to bring a beautiful baby into the world, and I'm super excited and happy that I got to meet you because you're so motivating. That is such a beautiful motivation. And this is what this podcast is all about. People making that pivotal shift, going through stuff in their life, and how do they bounce back? How do they get back on track? Or how do they get moving again? Which I think, honestly, your story is so beautiful because of the fact that you showed just that, and reaching out for that support and saying, I'm determined to change my trajectory and do something different.
Yeah, I mean, had I known the resources that were in front of me, and had I picked one of those resources, maybe the story would be different. But at the same time, I'm grateful for the way that it was, because it taught me so many vital lessons. And with those lessons, I'm able to bring that shift. It's a paradigm shift. I'm able to bring that paradigm shift into my business, into other coaches' business, visionaries, light workers, into what they bring to this world. And when I get to be part of that breakthrough, I can't tell you, Monica, how powerful and beautiful it is to see someone go from having this feeling of stuckness to literally, it's as if they ran through the wall head first and the whole thing just shattered. And I get to be a witness to that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I just this week had a client literally just break down like in tears because of that hope and having direction and having clarity and gaining confidence. It's just a beautiful thing to me. I feel privileged and honored every time I have a client who allows me to be a part of their journey and see the shift that happens. It's just a beautiful thing. I mean, like you said, it's something that it's priceless to me to actually see that.
It really is. And if I could take a moment and talk about one of my clients who had a major breakthrough, I'd like to do that.
Most definitely.
I won't use her real name, but we'll call her Sarah. So Sarah came to me and was extremely frustrated working a 9 to 5 and knew she had a bigger purpose. And this is an ideal client for me, as someone that's a 9 to 5 high achieving professional woman who is looking to step into their greatness and birth their soul project. She came to me with this idea of creating a company from scratch that focused on sobriety and recovery. And I don't usually attract people that want to birth a business that's based on sobriety and recovery, but we had that in common. So she was very resistant to the fact of breaking through the wall and would put up defenseless barriers and call me out. And it became a very frustrating process for both of us. So we took a week off and we came back to the drawing board. And she said, I had a realization that I'm supposed to be listening to you. And I do a lot of visualization work while I'm working with somebody. And it's very transformational and very spiritual. So I told her, well, during that week, I had an entire visualization plan that happened to me, downloaded from God. And he told me, this is what you need to be doing. And she just broke down in tears and said, that's exactly what I needed. And what it was her company from the top down, what it's supposed to look like and who she's supposed to be attracting. And we nailed down her ideal client, who was, a female or male in between 25 to 55, who was looking to really focus on not just recovery, but what does sobriety even mean? What does it look like to you? And it's different for everyone. And then she was putting a book together. And so I downloaded what the book was going to look like. And it was this travel company book all about traveling to different states and countries and where you can be sober, where you can go and get a non-alcoholic beverage, even at a bar, right? And we were able to just download these things with one another, and it was just so beautiful. And with that, her spirit just broke free and she was able to create. And now she's running this book, putting it together. She started this company from scratch, and it's all about connecting with people within the community of sobriety. And she runs something that's called Zero Proof Nation, which does help people that are sober curious get into what that actually means, what it looks like, and how it feels. And then she brings that to different locations within the DC area. And I'm just so proud. I feel like a proud mom already that I had her under my wing, and we were able to get through some of these resistance shifts, the crap that people hold on to, these limiting beliefs, the self-doubt. It's nasty. It's really nasty. And, when I was a kid, and maybe you can resonate with this, we were told you had to fit this mold, right? You're going to fit in this box. I was told you're going to sit in the pharmaceutical industry for the next 20, 30 years, and you're going to make all this money and have a great life. And yet I was miserable. But you're being told, like, you have to fit in this mold, and you have to go to college, and you have to get a degree, and you have to do all these things. Says who? And this is where I'm at with the women that I serve, is says who? Who's telling you have to stay in your 9 to 5? Who's telling you that you can't birth your soul project that you've been leaving on the back burner for the last 5, 10, 20 years? And here I am in front of you, hoping, wishing, praying for you, because I'm holding that space and allowing you to get to see your full potential, break through some of this crap that you've been holding on to. It's really bullshit. That's why I call myself Breakthrough Bullshit Coach. These old limiting beliefs, these old patterns and trauma that comes up. And we're literally in the weeds, just scraping through, trying to get to that beach where that island is. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and that's one, I know for a fact how we end up connecting, because we are on the same path of understanding, of helping people get over those limiting beliefs, self-doubt, stuff that, oftentimes we have parents, and I actually have a client, right, that I really had to help her as she's attempting to have her daughter live her life. And she actually finally admitted, she's like, I've been doing, you know, having my daughter, like, tell her where she needs to go to school, and, you know, telling her what decisions she has to make and all these things. She goes, and I realized, like, I heard your voice, and she's like, I'm actually attempting to have my daughter live my life. And instead of me finding what is my life, I'm putting it on her. She's like, but I now have to find my life and focus on that, and stop causing my daughter to try to live something that I felt or thought, or, you know, I should have lived. And that's my biggest thing. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Where did that come from? Whose voice are you hearing? When are you going to stop that tape recorder and hit rewind and put that new message, the one that resonates with you, as the one that you listen to on a daily basis, and not somebody else's? And unfortunately, I see it so often, especially as women, that we're told that you have to be a certain way, look a certain way, do certain things. But even men, they're not even given the opportunity, like, you're a man, suck it up and stop, you know, crying, or don't express yourself. So then, of course, we want to have that conversation, and they don't even know how. So I see it so often. I have a lot of men, I have a lot of women that I work with, and it's like, I can't limit myself, because I resonate with, you know, being psychologically androgynous, the ability to help both, you know, because my brain thinks like a guy when it's necessary, and thinks like a woman when it's necessary. And then, so I help them learn how to communicate better together. So, yeah.
I love that connection and correlation. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love working with men. I think it's a fabulous energy that I have, that masculine energy when it's needed, and same with you. And that feminine energy is what I'm drawing in and practicing. And it's always going to be a growth opportunity. I used to think that the voice in the back of my head was someone else's, and I would blame that voice on my parents. You know, you put this voice in my head, and you're telling me I'm limited, or I'm not allowed to do this and that, and would tiptoe around what I actually wanted to do. And then when I finally broke free and started this business a couple years ago, everybody was like, don't do that. Don't do that. You're going to, you know, why are you doing this? And you had such a great career and such a great life. And my heart was telling me to do this. My soul was saying, if you don't, then when? And I didn't want to be one of those shoulda, coulda, woulda people and have to wait until I was 55 to rewrite my story. Absolutely not. You know, the time is now. And I always ask the question, if you don't do it now, then when? You're going to continue waiting until the kids are out of the house, you know, the husband's retired, and then you're like all of a sudden going, oh, I guess I should start that business. Girl, please get off your high horse and start it now, because you never know what's going to happen and how many breakthroughs will actually come through.
Exactly. One of the things that I also say to, you know, to people, who's missing out on the blessing that you will give
Oh
and
my
bring?
gosh, yes.
Like, who's missing out? Like, some people do things for other people. So I said, okay, well, if your focus is really about helping other people, how many people are missing out because you're not providing the living in your purpose and providing the blessings that will bless them to move? And to me, that's how I live my life, because of the fact that I know for a fact that my purpose is really to help other people. As a therapist, as well as a business coach, my purpose is to help people grow and go where they need to be, or where they desire to be, and not stay stuck, because I know personally what that looks like, going through emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, and all these things that really could have held me down. But I would not change any of that, because it made me stronger and become the person that I am, and not allowing other people to write my story. I'm like, no, I'm going to write my own story. I don't need you to do it. I got it. Thank you. So
yeah. And that's what Luminous Expansion is all about. Literally, you're expanding your light into the universe. Why stay stuck? Why hold your light just in your own hands? Why not give it out and share it with other people? You know, and it is for that visionary, that dreamer, that light worker, the mompreneur, which I love, the entrepreneur, the 9-to-5er who's been putting this beautiful soul project on the back burner due to practicality. I'll get to it when I get to it. But what if so many people are in need of what your business is, what you've been, you're one of those people that give advice to everybody, and yet where's your compassion for yourself? And what I love about Luminous Expansion is it's a group of women coming together. It's an immersion. It's birthing your own soul project, but at the same time, you get so much back. You get sisterhood, connection, love of self, that self-doubt. We clear that out. We're looking at some of the past traumas that come up as well. And throughout the process, you get to build a business in 8 weeks. Like, who does that in 8 weeks? It's so intense, but just the compassion and the connection that you gain from this program is fantastic. And also what I love about it is I'm birthing a baby at the same time. So it's a physical experience for me, but it's a spiritual experience for each one of these women. And they go through such an intense transformation, but they're also being taught how to have a spiritual awakening and what that looks like. And it's going to be different for every soul out there. And we bring it together, but you also have this individual who is being able to share their light and grow it out into the world. And it's just so freaking powerful. I love it. I really do.
Yeah,
I love what I do.
Yeah, it sounds beautiful. And I love your passion, because if you don't have the passion behind helping people, then it comes off as schemy and cheesy and, manipulative and so many other things. And that's why, I'm so excited that everyone that I have, chosen to work with and on my podcast have the same passion, and that thrive and the drive to really go after helping other people. And I absolutely love it. I mean, absolutely. What would be the groundwork, the very beginning, the foundation that you feel that is needed to help someone illuminate their light, to shine and start working on that journey?
Well, very quickly, I want to back up and acknowledge you, because what you bring to this world, I don't think you realize how powerful your spirit is and how you personally illuminate and expand, and how many people that you've been able to serve. And that's really what it's all about, right? It's really about serving and being almost like a disciple to the people that are following you. You're not, we're not messiahs. We're not God. We're not these almighties, but we're people to do the work of the divine, and we're just being downloaded whatever that information is. So I just wanted to take time to acknowledge you, because I think it's so important to do that, and that you get to expand your light into the universe, and other people get to follow it and see it and be part of it. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And, I just do it. I just do it that I don't even think about it. I'm all about, oftentimes you hear people say, I'm about helping people grow and I'm about supporting people, but they really don't do it. And it's like when they reach out, I've had several people reach out to me and say, oh my gosh, I'm just so surprised. I'm so used to being the giver, and then other people just take, but then when I need something, they're not there. And for me, that is just I don't even understand that. I'm the giver. I'm always giving and without expecting, but it comes to me naturally. In fact, I just posted recently about, I'm a giver. I take after my dad. And oftentimes because I am, people feel that it's an ulterior motive. What do you want? And I'm nothing.
Right.
And so to me, it's important to really help each other. I mean, I don't even know how to do it any other way, honestly. So thank you.
Well, it's about giving your gifts, you're giving gifts, and you're sharing those gifts with people that truly need them.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that.
And the question that you asked, I believe, which was the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So what do they do when they get started in the program? Is that what you were asking?
Well, yeah, just even in the beginning, if you have someone that's coming to you and they want to start literally say, I want to be, to illuminate my light, I want to expand from where I am, what is the foundation that you feel that it's important for them to have? Because I always feel like it's important, like, if we start jumping out there, but we don't have a solid foundation, we often will fail. Which foundation do you feel that it's important for people to have?
Well, it's funny you ask, because one of the first things that I have people do is set up their sacred space and also create what I call habitual rituals. So creating these habits that turn into rituals, so everyday practices. And that could look different for you. It could look different for me. It could look different for our clients. It really just depends on who they are and what their light is that they're bringing in. Some people I've worked with in the past, their focus in the morning is meditation, and then journaling, and then stepping out into nature and getting grounded onto the ground, putting their feet in the grass or touching a tree, whatever that looks like. For me, it's meditation, it's movement. I have to move my body, whether it's yoga or breath work, and then going into food, of course, to nourish my body, and then a walk with my dogs, because in that point, I really find my soul when I'm out in nature, when I'm out walking. So really setting up that beginning morning routine. And then when it comes to a sacred space, creating your ritual altar, whatever that looks like for you. So I've had clients in the past take photos of their altars. They have, what they want their business to look like. Some create a vision board and they put that up on the wall, and every day they're looking at it, praying over it, calling in exactly what the vision board is displaying. And my own altar, I have all of my clients up on the board with hearts around their names. And I give them each one a phrase. And it literally ties into who they are. And then I have relics and special things that came from my parents and my grandparents who have since passed on, and books. And I sit in prayer every day around those women, around the sacred altar, and it just really gets me grounded. So that's part of the program. That's the beginning foundation, is really getting set in your own way. Because when you do that, when you really set up a routine, oh my gosh, there's so much magic that happens just in that alone. And I love people when they create their own routines and then they talk about it and share it. That little light will start to grow immensely over the week's time if you continue to practice in that sacred space.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the fact that you hold space by you putting hearts around them and giving them their own phrase. You're actually holding space for your clients, which is so huge and important. I remember a client that I had one time, and I just do things so naturally that I don't really think about times what I do. And he's talking to me and he's like, I just have to tell you something. And I was like, sure. And he was like, I just want to say thank you, because you just hold space and you allow me to express myself as I need to. And I don't even know how to explain to you how huge that is for me, because I've never had that before. And I was just like, wow, like, things that we tend to take for granted. It's as a coach, as a healer, as a person that is really about giving and sharing your purpose, just holding space for someone can, literally start helping them shed so much. And so I love your altar that you've created and the routine that you do. That is beautiful.
I got chills when you were talking about that, man. It's so beautiful. And I can't tell you how much that means to me, because any person that I talk to, it could be the lady at the grocery store that's ringing me out. I've had this happen where she just has to vent or feels the need to say something. And we just hold that space and allow that person to communicate whatever is coming through. And after that's being said, then they say, oh my gosh, I don't know what you did, but I feel much lighter. And I didn't do anything except listen and hold space. And that's my best communication style. And it sounds like that is for you too, is listening. Listening is a communication style, whether we like it or not. A lot of people these days can't do it. They can't listen. They have a 3-second to 7-second attention span, and they're on this thing, and they're, you know, da 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 always. And I've learned to shut my phone off on the weekends. I don't take calls. I don't take phone calls even from family. If it's an emergency, they'll figure out a way to get to us. But I've just learned to be and listen since the age of 7, really. But it sounds like you too, you have that intuition of just creating that open container that allows people to really see who you are, but at the same time, it gets them to expand into who they are too. And it's an incredible gift to have, and that we've both been blessed with it. I love that.
Yes. And, you know, starting from the very beginning, when you were sharing your story, adversity, the things that you go through can actually serve as a conduit for you to be that person to, you know. And oftentimes some of, you know, they say you don't have to go through something in order to, you know, be a good coach or whatever. But to me, you use what you've been through to help you and help other people. And that's what I've done. I mean, I've wrote my books about, you know, the things that I've been through, how it, you know, my story helped me be a better leader. I wrote another book about how I learned how to speak fiercely and teach my daughter, because I had her at 17, how to actually be confident and own who she is. And I often look at her and I'm like, wow, I did that. You know, I had that. And I see the things that she's become because of the fact that I just held space for her. I always will let her know. And this is something that, you know, will definitely help those, you know, that are also mompreneurs and parents and their kids are coming to them. I always explain to my daughter what to expect, but I never told her what to do. Because what happens is most times when people make mistakes is because they end up getting hit with something they didn't never expected. And so now you have to deal with the shock factor. You have to deal with like feeling overwhelmed. So your body goes into that fight, flight, or freeze, right? So then you're in survival mode. But once you know what to expect, you're already into the, okay, what do I do next kind of situation. And so that was one of the things that I did with my daughter as I was raising her, that now, I mean, like, it's just a beautiful thing of seeing her as an adult, how she maneuvers through life, because she's like, well, I mean, I always anticipated my move because you told me what to possibly expect. And then when it happened, I wasn't caught off guard. I wasn't shocked. And I was able to execute. So yeah. So we can use our own story to help other people in so many different ways.
We can use our own story. We can also learn that our intuition is something we need to trust.
Yes.
And to not be afraid, not be afraid of what that looks like. And, you know, trusting the gut is a huge part of this life process. If you ever think that your gut is wrong, just tap on it. It'll tell you the answer. There have been many times when I've had clients say to me, you know what? I love what you're saying, but I'm not really feeling into it. And I said, thank you for that. I've gotten away from saying sorry. I don't really believe in that word, but I've always thanked people in a way that felt, you know, in my intuition. And so when a client says, it just doesn't feel right for me, okay, then I wasn't channeling the right answer. But at the same time, it's getting them to see that they can trust themselves and trust that intuition and trust that inner voice, because the critic is hanging out. It's always going to be behind you, tapping on that shoulder like the devil's advocate, saying, I'm still here. But we don't have to listen to that. We get to listen to what our inner inabilities are telling us, and that positive affirmation that you can continue to use over and over and over. And by using that positive intuition and affirmation every day, that light again continues to just illuminate into the world. And your daughter has done such a wonderful job doing that. So you're giving me a platform of what I need to do when my baby comes, and allowing her to really trust into her intuition as well.
I will gift you my book called Fiercely Speaking. My chapter is called Resemblance of Me. And I actually give 10 lessons learned of things that I've learned raising her, and how I ensured that she didn't become a child that was entitled or, wanted things or whatever, just a connection and build the connection. And in my chapter, she wanted to write her story called, a letter called Dear Reader. So what I'm going to do is have her, take her letter, have her sign it, and then insert it in as a gift in the book. So I will definitely get your address and stuff and gift that to you, so that way you can have it. Because
awesome.
I feel that it will be definitely useful. But I love also that you talked about intuition and using your instincts, because I remember as I was growing up, my mother, I used to say, Mom, something about them I don't like. I was little, so I didn't really understand what that was. And she used to say, you don't like anyone. And so after a while, I stopped listening to that, because I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe you're just being picky. You don't like something. But then as I got older, when I didn't listen to that instinct and that little intuition, things would go wrong. And after a while, I was like, wait a minute. I had a feeling that this wasn't right. I did it anyway because heard my mother's voice. And then I was like, forget that. I started listening to that instinct, started feeling, what I felt, and started following that. And things always worked out right. And I found out now that I often have to teach my clients how to get back to that place. Like when they say, I don't trust people, I'm like, do you trust yourself? Because when you trust yourself, you will make the decision that resonates with you. And oftentimes it was like, no, I don't even know what that feels like. So I find myself having to help them get in tune with that place. And so it's sometimes that may even be the foundational piece to help them trust themselves. So
yeah, when you're out there building a business, as an entrepreneur over the last couple of years, the roller coaster of emotions, the decisions that I made that might have not been the right ones for me, and I made them anyway. Or I, trusted my gut, and my gut was telling me to go in this direction, and I went that way. Trust is such a huge word. We take it for granted. But when you're building your business, if you don't have trust, if you lack in that area, if you find yourself doubting what your intuition's telling you, what that voice is saying, then you might fail, and that's okay. Failure is welcome in entrepreneurship. It's very much welcome. But at the same time, that failure can also seep in, and God, it just can take you down, and that trust can start to dissipate. And, like I said, trust is such a big word, and we take it for granted because oftentimes we're in the flow, right? We get into this flow. There's a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, and he talks about being in this zone of genius. So you're up here, you're living high, and then all of a sudden something happens and you crash, and that trust goes away, and you're back at the starting ground until you get built back up to the zone of genius. And all these little words are creeping in, all these phrases, all the doubt comes back. And, you're like this constant roller coaster of emotions when building a business. And over the years, I've just had to welcome it. What are you going to do? You can't shy away from fear. You can't shy away from trusting that fear is going to creep in, but at the same time, your intuition is begging you to take that leap, begging you to stay in it, because, the old phrase goes that blood is thicker than water. Well, it's the same in business. If you can fight your way through some of this stuff, you're going to come out on the other side blessed. You're going to come out feeling like you're a champion for yourself. You're a champion for other people. And you did it on the backbone of trust. You did it on the backbone of your intuition. And that little inner voice starts to go away. And he or she does not exist as much as you think. And when your business takes off and you're super successful and you're making that 6-figure to 7-figure to 8-figure income, and you're able to share and serve it with so much gratitude, and you look back and you say, well, this is where I started and this is how I built it. And again, you said it, the foundation is about trust. And it's just so crucial to not just building your business, but to life in general.
Yeah, that I love that. That is so true. And people don't understand that. And well, this is why we're here talking about it now, so that they can actually, work towards that. And when they're right about to give up, it's like push one more. You never know if that's the moment. It's kind of like when you're giving birth to a baby in a little sense. It's like, you're like, I'm tired. They're like, just one more push, just one more push. And then you hear that cry. You're like, oh my, like all the pain that you felt goes away. It's like, I know that I was in pain, but I can't remember, like I literally physically can't get my body back in that same amount of pain that I had once the birth happened. And that's the same thing in your business. You're grinding, you're pushing forward, and you're just working hard, and you want to give up. And then finally, when you have that moment where everything that you poured into it comes to fruition, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, it was so worth it. So yeah, just breathe into it is, that's one thing I think that is so important for business owners to do.
Yeah. I often think about the story of Sylvester Stallone. So he wrote the script of Rocky and was presenting it to all these writers and people in the film industry, and nobody would take the script. And he asked for, an amount of salary. And he got to the point where his wife left him. He had to move out of his apartment. He sold his dog to get the rights to this script. He wanted to play the leading role. And everybody was telling him, absolutely not. You're not worth it. You're trash. You don't even speak well. Well, as the story goes on, he just kept pushing. And I don't know how many Rockies have been made. I think there are about 6 now. And he bought his dog back. The guy that he bought it back from only asked for a part in his movie. But the moral of the story was he never gave up, and he kept pushing. Even when he had no money, no resources, wound up homeless. His son even wanted nothing to do with him. His wife wanted nothing to do with him. Everybody left him. And there he was saying, I have to make this work. I have to do it. And if I don't, my dreams are gone. Like, I don't exist. And that's the most beautiful story I can compare when it comes to birthing your business and bringing it to fruition, because you're in the trenches and bombs are getting thrown at you left and right. And you have to make that decision. Can I take one more hit? And if I take that one more hit, can I push through? Can I get there? Can I make it happen? And it's a choice, right? It's a choice. And he made that choice and he made it happen. Look at him now. His wife came back successful. He's had all these movies and deals and endorsements, children, the whole thing. And I emulate his life. I love looking at that story and saying, I want to be someone like that. I want to be that person that gets knocked down so many times, but I don't care. I might have 3 teeth left, but I'm going to get back up and I'm going to chew the leg off of the next person that I got to make my way into whatever it is.
Yeah. And I love that. And another person that I also compare that to is Tyler Perry, where he was homeless. And I love the fact that he gives back and support those and up and coming actors and actresses and give them a shot. And to me, that's one of the things, like Rocky, as well as him, Sylvester Stallone, and well as Tyler Perry, where they don't forget where they came from, and they're all about helping other people grow. And for me, that's so super huge and important. And I always tell people, I don't care how big I get or where, I'm always going to take people with me, because that's who I am innately, inside and out. Like, my last name is Bijou. And I always tell people my goal is to take my dad's name and let people know that I look for the jewel in everyone that I meet, because of the fact that that's what it stands for. And I'm like, thank you, Dad, for giving me such a cool name. So I actually can use it in everything I do, because, and that's just who I am. And for me, that's when I feel the happiest, when I see other people succeed. So.
Yep. Selfless service.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking the ego out completely and allowing, that whatever you believe in, giving you that strength, that spirit to push through selflessly. If selfishness pushes in and wants to take over, the ego comes back around. And as an entrepreneur, the ego always wants to come back around. It's just one of those things. But the more that we do this and the more that we can share with other people and see them light up and see their light expand and allow them to birth their business or get out there and speak and tell their story and share who they are, that's really selfless. Because guess what? They get to pass it on to the next person and the next person. So this isn't about you or I. It's about 20, 30 years from now, leaving that legacy of how many people were served, how many people felt the love that was being passed around and shared. And by doing this interview, coming into it, I was channeling you and I was thinking, all of this love that you pass around to everybody that you've served already, it's enormous. And I hope people feel that when they hear this interview, is the love that just emanates from you. And hopefully I'm giving that off as well. But it's all about being selfless and being in service to the next person, because that gets passed around. And at the end of the day, this is all about love. Love wins all the time if we put it forth and we make the effort to make sure that it's there, because there's trust, and in the foundation of trust, there's love. And, that's who I try to embody every single day, is just, who can I be? How can I show up in love? How can I show up in trust? And how can I give that away?
Yeah, and you most definitely do. You asked, you hope that you are. And the other word that I'm going to add to that is authentic. Having authenticity is so huge and important, especially in the entrepreneur world. People can tell when you're not. And it's just, for me, I resonate with people. Like I was telling you, I was combing through and I was looking through, and like, when I say out of 250, there was only like 10 people, I literally mean that, because I was like, yep, resonate with this one, yep, resonate with that one. And I didn't even look at pictures before I scheduled calls, pre-calls. I really didn't, because of the fact it was after the fact. I was like, oh, well, let me go see what, like, it was so funny, because of the fact that I can just sense people. I listen to that instinct, I listen to that intuition, and I literally practice what I teach my clients. Like for me, if you have a coach that does not teach what they're telling you, there's something wrong with that. You definitely want to run. Run for the hills. Run for the hills. But oh my gosh, Brittany, we can talk forever, because of the fact that when I resonate with people, I'm like, we could be on the phone forever, just talking, even though we're like in a doing an interview. So I really want to thank you for being with me tonight or today, and talking about how to illuminate your light and how to expand in the place where people are. Do you have any last words that you want to share with them?
Oh my gosh, I could keep going if I could. Well, one of the things that I'm launching actually this week, starting on March 2nd, is called Grow and Glow Your Self as a Badass Visionary. So it's a 7-day challenge, and I'm coming on to give mindset hacks. There's guest speakers that will be joining on the Facebook group. I can send you that link to post. But Grow and Glow as a Badass Visionary is all about, what is your vision for your business, and how can you continue to get into that vision and spread it like wildfire. And the guest speakers, we've got authors, best-selling authors. We've got writers. We have business coaches that have taken their clients from 6 figures to 7 figures and beyond. We have health coaches, medicine women, and relationship coaches that are coming on to speak directly to parents. It's a conglomerate of all different facets of life from entrepreneurship, but at the same time, what we all bring is that love and birthing this vision into place of, you know, allowing people to see that one size doesn't fit all in entrepreneurship. So Grow and Glow is really about how can we put your vision out there? What does it look like? How can we explore it further? And from that 7-day challenge, I'm hoping that not only do these coaches receive that love back, but it's emanating out to each and every person that joins this group.
Oh, that's great. And when does your actual program itself start?
The actual program starts March 23rd.
Okay. Because just in case this doesn't air by the time the 2nd, at least we can make sure. And then do they have the ability to like go back or pay to listen later on, or how does that work for your challenge?
For the challenge, the group is open until the 2nd, and then I'll probably cut it off and make it private, but they can always be accepted in. There will be recordings. There will be things for them to go back and listen to if, you know, they really truly want to be a part of this experience. Yeah. And then also what I'm offering and gifting is 30-minute sessions with me to kind of recap in case they missed anything. And also if they are an entrepreneur or a business visionary and looking to grow in that space, we can talk about that as well.
Oh, that is a beautiful gift. And for those listening, I would definitely jump on that. And what are some other ways that people can reach you? What's the name of your group that you have? And then what are other avenues that listeners, as well as those that view it, can get in contact with you?
Sure. So this group, this challenge that I'm launching is called Grow and Glow as a Badass Visionary. My brand is called She Speaks Bravely. That's how you can find me on Instagram. And then on Facebook, I'm actually under Brittany Young. And it's a badass picture of me from a couple years ago, before all this, you know, these changes with the baby and wedding and all that good stuff happened. But yeah, so I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn as well, in case, you know, you're so in tune with LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I think it's such a powerful tool as well. So yeah, different places to find me. And then I offer free sessions to jump on the phone with me. You know, I have a link for that as well. And I love doing market research calls with women to get into their brains. How are they feeling? What's coming up for them in their own businesses, and how can I serve? How can I be of help for their business and their vision?
Because you have so much to give, and like like your husband was absolutely right. You actually illuminate and expand, and not just yourself, but everyone that you touch and reach. And so I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to interview with you and actually be working as a peer.
I can't thank you enough. This was so much fun.
It feels like, but thank you so much for being with me as we brought another episode to Decide to Move podcast, where we are bringing tips, tools, and strategies to everyone that is here to listen, as well as watch us on video, so that they can go from where they currently are to where they're destined to be. Brittany brought so much great information. She even shared her own story of how she went from a state to where she is now. And it's an ongoing process for the both of us. So thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to you listening to the next episode. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Decide to Move podcast with Monica M. Bijou. If you're ready to grow personally and professionally in order to take your destined position in the world, then schedule a free clarity call at bit.ly/call with Monica. That's bit.ly/call with Monica, or visit us at decidetomovepodcast.com for all links mentioned today and listen to previous episodes. Also, don't forget to subscribe and rate us on iTunes or your favorite listening platform.